The shocking truth, Black CEO ousted by executive team, but she held the real power all along. The boardroom was electric, tension sizzling in the air like a live wire begging to snap. Jennifer Lawson, the first Black CEO of Allied Tech, stood at the head of the table, her fierce gaze disarming even the staunchest of critics. It was supposed to be a regular meeting, but whispers swirled around her this was no ordinary day. The room, filled with sterile faces and tailored suits, felt oppressive. You could practically hear the pounding of her heart against the backdrop of corporate ambition. Moments before the meeting, rumors had begun to ripple through the office like a storm brewing on the horizon. An unexpected coup. A scandal too shocking to believe, then it happened. A white paper flew across the glossy table, a cold, sterile memo that spelled out her termination. Gasps echoed from around the room. It was as though the air had been sucked out, leaving behind a heavy silence, the kind that rattles the bones. She could feel the eyes of her colleagues, feeling the sharp breaths, the sharp judgment that felt like knives cutting through her resolve. But there was something more, a wrongness in the room. How could they think they could cast her aside so easily? As she stood there, her hands trembling slightly, she could almost hear her ancestors whispering from the past. The passion and perseverance that had carved her path began to ripple through her, igniting an inner fire. Jennifer wasn't just a figurehead, she was the one that had held the company together through its darkest days. With each cold word from her rivals, she faced a reckoning, an unseen power swelling within her as if the universe was aligning against the injustice, but beyond the drama, a hidden truth lay in wait. Reports began to surface, mysterious, coded messages exchanged behind closed doors, secret alliances and betrayals that could shatter the company's reputation. Everyone could feel it, something was off. The air thrummed with the weight of unspoken secrets. Why was her removal happening now? What were they afraid of? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Jennifer's mind raced. Was there a deeper agenda at play? It wasn't just about her, it felt grander, a game of cat and mouse leading to something monumental. The thought made her skin prickle. She took a deep breath, steadied herself. She wasn't leaving, she was fighting back. But what would be the cost? Who could she trust now? As she made her way out of the boardroom, the echoes of uncertainty trailed her. What if the real story was yet to unfold, hidden in the shadows, waiting for her to uncover? As she stepped outside, her heart was relentless, pounding harder with every unresolved question looming over her. Would she reclaim her power, or would darkness consume her truth? A chill ran down her spine. The battle was just beginning. Jennifer walked down the sterile hallway, the click of her heels sharp against the polished floor like gunshots in the quiet. The stares from her colleagues burned into her back, and she could feel their judgment seep into her skin. They must think she was broken, beaten. But beneath her polished exterior, her heart pulsed with rage and determination. Outside, the city buzzed with life, totally oblivious to the storm brewing within Allied Tech. Jennifer took a moment to gather herself beneath the towering skyscrapers. She could either melt into the shadows or rise like a phoenix from the ashes. She chose the latter. The drive home felt like a blur. Her mind was a cyclone of thoughts, half-formed questions, and visions of retribution. She needed information. She needed allies. But who could she trust in a company that had turned against her so venomously? Arriving at her sleek apartment, cozy voids of silence wrapped around her. The walls felt more like a sanctuary than a prison. She sank into the plush sofa, flipping through her contacts, her mind racing. There were a few whom she held in high regard: Darnell, her finance chief, and Mara, her closest confidant, always had her back. But the memory of the boardroom, the cold look of betrayal from her fellow executives gnawed at her. Could they remain loyal? With a deep breath, she picked up her phone and texted Darnell. "We need to talk. Urgent." The response came quickly, reassuring, and yet laced with tension. "Meet me at the usual spot." Staring out her window, Jennifer watched the lights of the city flickering like fireflies. She found herself wondering how those light bulbs shone so bright, unwavering against the encroaching darkness. Would her truth finally shine through, even if it meant taking on the entire board? When she arrived at the quaint café, the aroma of brewed coffee mixed with baked pastries wafted around her, almost drowning out the rising apprehension in her stomach. Darnell was already seated, his hands wrapped around a steaming cup, his eyes narrowed as he spotted her. "Did you hear about the memos?" He blurted out, his voice low. "They're planning something big, Jen. People have been talking." Her heart raced. "What do you mean?" "Hidden financial reports, sub-rosa deals. The board's working on something, but it doesn't add up. I've seen accounts being shuffled, transactions wiped clean." Wiped clean. The phrase hung in the air, heavy with implication. What would they hide? "They're afraid of something, something you might know about," Darnell replied, glancing around nervously. "If it gets out, I don't even want to think about it." An icy knot formed in her stomach. "I have to see these files. Whatever they're hiding could be the key to my defense, our defense." As they discussed their next steps, a figure appeared outside the cafe window. It was Mara, her face twisted in confusion. Jennifer felt a rush of relief but also fear. Was she friend or foe? Before she could wave her in, a car skidded to a stop, and bulky men clad in dark suits emerged, their eyes fixed on the cafe, scanning like wolves on the hunt. Panic surged through Jennifer like wildfire. "Darnell," she started, but the words caught in her throat as the door creaked open. What was happening? The darkness was closing in, and she felt the unmistakable pull of the unknown. The air crackled with tension as the men stepped closer, and she realized they were not here for coffee. A chill ran down her spine. There was more at stake, and the stakes were getting higher. What were they prepared to do next? The door swung open harshly, a loud creak echoing in the otherwise quiet cafe. Each step of the approaching men resonated ominously, a symphony of threat that caught both Darnell and Jennifer off guard. The towering figures wore expressions devoid of warmth, their eyes scanning the room like predators sizing up their prey. "Get down!" Darnell hissed, pushing Jennifer behind him just as the lead man glanced their way, his jaw tightening, lips curling slightly in a menacing smirk. They could feel the heat of the moment wrapping around them, an electric charge of adrenaline and fear. Mara stumbled in through the door just in time to see the chaos unfold. "What's going on?" she began, but her voice trailed off, swallowed by the tension that had amassed like a thundercloud overhead. Darnell instructed her to duck under a table, eyes wide with urgency. "You have to hide. They're looking for us." Jennifer's heart banged against her chest, her instincts screamed to flee. Was this it? Was this how it ended? But the gnawing need for answers pulled her deeper into the fray. She had to know what lay behind this sudden violence. "What do we do?" Mara whispered from her hiding place, her wide eyes reflecting fear that felt all too familiar. A muffled voice broke through the imminent panic, a heavy-handed authority that drew her attention back to the armed men. "We know you're in here, and we don't want any trouble," the man with a scarred cheek warned, his voice assertive, ice cold. "Step out quietly, and maybe we can forget about this incident." Jennifer squeezed Darnell's arm, citing a quick reminder of the stakes, the files, the secrets. "We can't let them get away with this," she murmured against the pounding chaos in her mind. "This isn't just about me anymore." Darnell's expression shifted from fear to something more resolute. "If we can grab your laptop, the files are on there. It could be our only chance to expose them." The men followed their instincts, scanning with malevolent determination. They were getting closer. Jennifer exchanged a desperate glance with Darnell, heart racing as she formulated a plan. On the count of 3, we make a break for it. Are you crazy? Mara choked out, her face pale. We'll get caught. Or we become the targets for the board's wrath instead. We can't let them scare us into submission. Jennifer retorted, the fire within her reigniting as clarity set in. Fine, Darnell said, steeling himself. 1-2 as the word 3 slipped from his lips, Jennifer pushed past Darnell and Mara, sprinting toward the back of the cafe. Adrenaline surged through her legs, a potent run fueled by raw survival instinct, but just as she reached the kitchen entrance, an iron grip closed around her wrist, wrenching her back. The cold voice of the lead man hissed in her ear. And where do you think you're going? In that moment of captured breath, her mind raced. She couldn't let fear overpower her will. What did he want? What were the board members really planning, and how deep did the conspiracy run? Darnell's cry echoed in her head as panic brimmed. Jennifer. She twisted in the grip of the man, her pulse quickening. Would they reveal the truth, or force her witnesses into silence? The world felt fragile, crushed like the coffee mug that shattered on the floor as a scuffle broke out. Time seemed to ripple and bend, but she was determined to fight, to uncover the truth buried beneath layers of deceit. Tonight, chaos ruled, yet, somehow, the secrets of Allied Tech would not remain hidden. What awaited her on the other side of revelations, violence, and unshakable loyalty? If she could escape, maybe the truth could ignite the night. The grip tightened around Jennifer's wrist like a vice, sending shockwaves of panic up her arm. Her instincts screamed to break free, to escape the suffocating danger that loomed over their cafe sanctuary. Let her go. Darnell's voice split through the tension, fierce and brimming with defiance. Shut up. The man roared, shoving Darnell back. He stumbled, nearly tripping over a chair, but righted himself just in time. The confrontation resonated through the cafe like a gunshot, shattering the stillness that had hung like fog. Mara's breath came in quick gasps. She could see Darnell trying to rally some courage, but could feel fear gripping her heart like a cold hand. She scanned for an exit, desperate to jump into action, but the men closed ranks like wolves around the prey. Your little fight is useless, the leader taunted, stepping closer to Jennifer, who felt small and trapped. You're out of your league, girl. Just tell us where the laptop is, and maybe we'll let you walk out of here alive. A chill ran down her spine. The laptop was the key to everything, it held the secrets that could bring them down. She needed a distraction, something to shift the tables in her favor. I don't have it. She shouted, her voice trembling but resolute, knowing she needed to buy time. You're wasting your time. His eyes narrowed, suspicion creeping over his face. Wrong answer. He twisted, pulling her closer, his eyes matching the icy tones of his voice. Darnell lunged forward. Let her go. You don't have to do this. Step back. One of the other men barked, raising his weapon as alarm spread through the room. A shaky breath escaped Jennifer's lips, but determination surged within her. You think you can intimidate me? This isn't just a fight for your paycheck, she spat. It's a fight for lives, and I'm not backing down. The sound of shattering glass broke through the fear, drawing the attention of the men. In a split second, Darnell lunged toward them, his arms flailing, and at that moment, chaos erupted. Mara made a split-second decision. She sprang from her hiding place, rushing toward the back to grab a kitchen knife. The gleaming steel felt heavy in her hand, but she couldn't let them keep Jennifer. As she rushed back, her heart thundered. What are you doing? Darnell yelled, his eyes wide with alarm, drawing upon everything she had. Mara shouted, get away from her. As she surged forward, knife raised, adrenaline coursing through her veins, the lead man turned just as Mara hit him like a freight train, the force from her sudden attack catching him completely off guard. They crashed to the ground, her momentum slamming him backward. The knife slipped from her grip, but the shock made him stumble, loosening his hold on Jennifer. Go! Darnell yelled, looking back at Jennifer, now free. adrenaline driving him forward. Time slowed as Jennifer dashed past the flailing limbs, her legs moving robotically toward the escape route. But then she caught a glimpse of Darnell grappling with the remaining men. Panic surged anew. "What are you doing? They need to know we won't just fade away." Darnell shouted back, his voice laced with resolve that clashed against the chaos. Jennifer hesitated, heart wrestling against her instinct to run. How could she abandon him? But even in turmoil, she remembered the files, the truth still waiting to be revealed. "I have to get the laptop." She screamed over the fray, the weight of responsibility anchoring her feet, and just as she turned back, she locked eyes with Darnell, no longer just a friend but a comrade. Their fight had become entwined, a mutual struggle for justice and survival. As she raced toward the front of the cafe, Jennifer's mind raced with plans: 4 men. 2 wounded. 1 terrified. Danger still tied itself to them like a shadow. But she had a single thought burning bright: was she willing to confront the heart of betrayal? It was now or never. Outside, the night loomed, filled with uncertainty, and behind her echoed the cries of confrontation. What would happen if she found the truth? And would the risk be worth it when their very lives hung in the balance? The future felt unstable, threads of chaos woven tightly together. But something deep inside whispered that this was just the beginning. Jennifer burst through the door, the cool night air hitting her like a slap in the face. She paused, inhaling the raw scents of asphalt and freshly cut grass, letting the sharpness ground her momentarily. But there was no time for hesitation. The panic behind her pulsed like a heartbeat, and she knew she had to keep moving. The streetlights flickered above her. Her pulse thundered in her ears. Could she really leave Darnell behind? She clenched her fists, biting back the guilt. The laptop was everything. It was their lifeline, and if she didn't get it, all would be lost. As Jennifer sprinted down the alley beside the cafe, shadows danced menacingly. She could hear muffled shouts echoing from within, punctuated by the sickening thud of bodies colliding. Each noise propelled her faster, her sense of urgency blurring the outlines of what was happening behind her. She reached the back entrance, breathing heavily, feeling adrenaline coursing through her veins like fire. Gazing around, she noticed that the door was slightly ajar, the handle glinting under the dim light. She pushed it open slowly, the hinges creaking a protest. Inside, the small office was cluttered with files and coffee-stained papers scattered across the floor. There. The old wooden desk held the ancient-looking laptop, the very device she needed to expose the corruption that bound her world. But the air crackled with tension. She paused, listening intently. Footsteps sounded outside the room, heavy and deliberate. She barely had time to duck behind the desk before the door swung open. 2 of the men stepped inside, their faces drawn tight with frustration. "He can't take on both of us." One growled, his fists clenched tightly. "We need to finish this." The second man nodded, his gaze darting around the dimly lit room. "Where's that damn girl? I swear, if she gets her hands on that laptop, it's over for us." Jennifer's heart raced. They were talking about her. About Darnell. The realization was like ice water thrown over her. She had to act. Taking a deep breath, she reached for the laptop, its cold surface a stark reminder of what was at stake. But as she slid it toward her, the clatter of falling files echoed in the silence. The men turned in unison, their expressions morphing from annoyance to feral rage. "Get her!" One yelled, lunging for her with a growl. Time shattered into chaos as Jennifer rolled to the side, narrowly dodging the grasping hand. The struggle to regain control surged through her, and she scrambled to her feet, clutching the laptop to her chest. Adrenaline pushed her toward the door. She was almost there, almost free, when she heard a shout from behind. "Don't you dare think you can get away." The leader's voice thundered, causing Jennifer's heart to flutter wildly. She burst out into the cool night again, breathless, the laptop gripped tightly in her arms. But the alley was narrow, and she could hear feet pounding behind her, the men gaining ground. She dashed toward the street, praying for escape. As she glanced back, panic knit tight in her chest, traits that had guided her through the mess began to weave together. Should she carry on running, leave Darnell to his fate? A movement caught her eye. Darnell was rushing toward her, but he was surrounded. The chaos moved slower in that moment, her resolve hardening. Together. She yelled, and he locked eyes with her, determination visible even in the storm of fists and fury. Would they have time to regroup, to confront the impending danger? Or would this night swallow them whole? A gunshot rang out behind them, a chilling reverberation of judgment. The air thickened with fear and was lit by flickers of courage. Jennifer's breath hitched, and she felt the weight of the world crashing down. What would happen in the second that followed? The night stretched before them, each heartbeat echoing with uncertainty. All she knew was they had to fight back, now more than ever. What was lurking just beyond the shadows? The gunshot echoed, reverberating in Jennifer's ears like a death knell. She instinctively ducked, pulling Darnell down with her as they scrambled for cover behind a dumpster. Heart racing, she could feel the rough metal against her back, grounding her in the chaos. "Did you see that?" Darnell panted, eyes wide. "We have to get out of here." "Not without the laptop," Jennifer breathed, her mind racing. The device contained everything: their evidence, the proof of crooked deals and darker secrets. It was a target, but also their last chance. As they pressed against the freezing metal, she could hear footsteps pounding closer, voices rising. They weren't just chasing, they were hunting. "Where the hell is she?" One of the men barked, frustration lacing his words. "We can't let her get away." The sweat dripped down Jennifer's temple, mixing with the dirt that smeared her face. She exchanged a quick glance with Darnell. He nodded, understanding her resolve. "On my count," she whispered, heart hammering, "we bolt for the car." Panic bloomed in Darnell's expression, but his lips pressed tight, steeling himself alongside her. As she reached a shaky hand into her pocket, she felt the small switchblade resting there. Her father had given it to her long ago, teaching her how to defend herself against threats. Funny how life often looped back in weird ways. Now it would serve as her lifeline. 3, 2, 1. Jennifer shouted, and they sprang into action. They barreled out from behind the dumpster just as the two pursuers turned the corner. Adrenaline surged, every fiber of her being screamed to move. Her feet pounded against the pavement as they raced towards the parked car a few blocks down. The night air was alive with chaos, sirens wailed in the distance. But nothing could drown out the sound of the heavy footfalls behind them. She stole a glance back, and her stomach twisted. One of the men had drawn a gun, aiming right at them. "Get down!" she yelled, instinctively pushing Darnell to the side as the world blurred into motion. The bullet ricocheted off the pavement with a terrifying crack, just missing them. Jennifer felt the heat of the rush, the raw hunger for survival clawing at her insides. "Keep moving!" Darnell yelled, his voice hoarse. She caught a glimpse of rage on his face, and it spurred her onward. As they neared the car, hope flickered, but a new, darker fear gripped her. What if they couldn't reach it in time? They dove into the front seat, breathless. Darnell fumbled with the keys, hands shaking as he struggled to insert them into the ignition. "Come on, come on!" Jennifer shouted, eyes wild, glancing at the rearview mirror towards the alley. Just as the engine roared to life, a shadow rushed past, a figure darting from the mouth of the alley. The realization struck her like a punch to the gut. It was one of the men, and he was closing in fast. Darnell slammed the gear into drive, but Jennifer wasn't ready to give up. In a burst of instinct, she rolled down her window and thrust her arm out, aiming the switchblade. "Get ready!" she shouted, adrenaline surging through her limbs. In a heartbeat, the man was almost at the car, advancing with a grim determination. "Don't you dare!" he bellowed, reaching for the door just as she lunged. The blade gleamed in the moonlight, and with one desperate thrust, she jabbed it right into the flesh of his arm. A cry tore from his lips, and for a moment, time slowed. The world around them blurred into a haze as he stumbled back, clutching his injury. With a fierce twist of the wheel, Darnell hit the gas, catapulting them forward into the night. They sped away, the sirens whirling behind them, but the laptop burned with urgency in the back seat, reminding Jennifer of the fight still ahead. "What now?" Darnell asked, his voice heavy while they drove into darkness, tension thick like fog. Jennifer glanced over at him, the weight of their choices converging like storm clouds. "We need to get to the hard drive." "It's not over yet," she replied, her voice steady, but deep down, doubt gnawed at her. What kind of storm were they really facing? Unraveling the truth might lead them to places darker than they imagined. Could they truly outsmart their pursuers? The streets blurred into a dark maze of uncertainty, each turn leading them closer to danger. But under her resolve burned a flicker of determination. She wasn't just running, she was ready to fight. As they sped through the night, a new thought crept in. What if the laptop didn't just hold the evidence they needed? What if it held secrets deeper than betrayal? Before she could voice her fears, a sharp noise echoed in the silence, a message, a trigger, a countdown. What had they unleashed? The headlights sliced through the heavy fog, illuminating the road ahead like trembling fingers reaching into darkness. Tension crackled in the air between Jennifer and Darnell as the sounds of chaos faded behind them, replaced by an eerie silence that felt almost suffocating. Their hearts pounded in unison, each beat a reminder of the danger they had just narrowly escaped. "Where do we go now?" Darnell's voice wavered, his knuckles white as he gripped the steering wheel. Jennifer's mind raced. The laptop sat behind them, a bomb ready to detonate. "We need to find a safe place to regroup and access the files. We can't just run aimlessly, not with everything at stake." "What if they follow us?" Fear laced Darnell's question, taking a hold of them both. "We make them regret it. We're not victims here. We're going to turn the tables." Her words were fierce, yet inside, uncertainty gnawed at her like a relentless beast. The city lay sprawled beneath them like a sleeping giant. A vast web of shadowy alleys and flickering streetlights loomed, each corner potentially hiding their enemies. Jennifer spotted a dimly lit diner, a potential sanctuary in the storm. "Pull in there. We can figure things out inside." He swerved into the gravel parking lot, kicking up dust as he brought the car to an abrupt stop. They jumped out and hurried inside, the door jingling behind them with an almost mocking cheerfulness. The diner was nearly empty, a few late-night workers scattered at booths, slumping over mugs of coffee. The smell of grease hung in the air, both nostalgic and suffocating. They breathed as if they'd just stepped from a battlefield into a momentary peace, but knew better than to let their guard down. Jennifer led them to a secluded booth in the back. "We'll get some coffee, then dive into the laptop," she said, trying to project confidence. Darnell nodded, but it was clear the gravity of their situation weighed heavily. If they really want that evidence back, they won't give up easily. It'll only be a matter of time before they come searching for us. "I know." The thought loomed large in her mind. "But we've got a chance now. We need to access the data while we can find out what we really have on our hands." Darnell slid into the booth across from her, leaning in closer as if conspiracy might seep from their voices. He pulled the laptop onto the table, its sleek surface appearing innocuous, almost mocking in its simplicity. What if there's something here we weren't expecting?" "Like what?" "The deeper secrets. The kind that could break wide open this entire scheme." Jennifer felt a thrill racing through her, a dangerous kind of excitement mingled with fear. "Let us find out." As she powered up the device, her heart raced. The screen flickered to life, and her fingers flew over the keyboard, searching for the files they had risked everything to secure. But then a chill swept through her. The laptop chimed with a notification, and she froze. "There's an encrypted file," she murmured, surprised. The urgency of the mission faded, replaced by a rising dread. "Can you unlock it?" Darnell leaned closer. "I don't know, it looks advanced." Her mind whirred, but underestimating their enemies had always been their downfall. Do you recognize it? His eyes were wide with anticipation and trepidation. Before she could respond, a sharp noise shattered the moment, a crash from the front of the diner. Conversations halted, eyes turned, and adrenaline shot through her veins like fire. "Get down!" she hissed, instinctively shielding Darnell as the source of the noise became clear. Dark figures surged into the diner, their intentions unmistakable. "Time to go!" Darnell shouted, urgency surging through him. Meanwhile, Jennifer caught a glimpse of the lead shadow, a familiar face that sent a jolt of recognition spiraling through her. "Wait!" she gasped, her heart racing for a different reason. But before she could make sense of it all, they were surrounded, the walls closing in. Who was hunting them now? The familiar figure stepped forward, the dim light catching her features and sending a wave of shock through Jennifer. It was Miranda, her former boss, the one person who had always seemed untouchable amidst the corporate games. "Jennifer." Miranda's voice was cold and steady, the edges sharper than Jennifer remembered. The diner's atmosphere shifted, the air thick with tension as the dark figures loomed behind her like wolves ready to pounce. "I didn't expect to find you here. You should have never come looking for me," Jennifer shot back, heart pounding. "I know what you were a part of." The realization sunk in a betrayal, not from Darnell but from Miranda. The whole time, she had been a pawn in a much larger game. "We have what you're after," Darnell growled, defensively positioning himself between Jennifer and the approaching figures. Miranda smirked, the hint of danger dancing in her eyes. "And what exactly do you think that is? A laptop full of secrets? You both are in way over your heads." A man stepped out from the shadows beside her, tall and imposing, with hands shoved into the pockets of a leather jacket. Eyes like cold steel scanned the diner, sizing up every person inside. "Enough games," he said, voice like gravel. "Hand over the laptop, and maybe I'll let you walk out of here." "Like hell," Jennifer hissed, glancing towards Darnell. They needed to think fast. A plan, a misdirection. Something. "Jennifer, we can't be careless," Darnell whispered, his voice taut with fear. "We're outnumbered." She met Darnell's gaze, a spark of determination igniting within her. "We have to fight back. We can't just give them what they want." Inside, her mind raced. Breaking the encryption might buy them precious time. "Darnell, can you create a distraction? What did you have in mind?" "Just trust me," she urged, feeling the heat of urgency swell between them. With a nod, Darnell slowly shifted, moving slightly away from their corner. Jennifer turned her focus back to the laptop, fingers trembling. If she could just figure out the encryption, maybe they could expose the truth and turn the tide. Without warning, Darnell grabbed a nearby napkin holder and hurled it towards the front of the diner. The clattering sound ricocheted off walls, sending heads turning away. For a fraction of a second, chaos erupted. "Now!" Jennifer shouted, fingers flying over the keys, pressing through layers of security while her heart raced in her chest. Miranda's voice cut through the din, laced with frustration. "Don't let them escape." With sweat slicking her palms, Jennifer fought the clamoring noise in her head. The screen pulsed, the clock ticking dangerously down. Come on," she murmured, biting her lip. A loud crash echoed from the front window as Darnell slid past the figures, creating a hasty exit. Miranda's henchmen were distracted, and in that moment, Jennifer accessed the encrypted file data streaming across the screen, revealing the webs of treachery she had been blind to. But just as an unexpected set of documents appeared, the diner lights flickered ominously. The door slammed shut, and she felt more than saw the shifting weight, the sudden threat tightening around them. "Get back!" Darnell shouted as he fought to hold off the forces closing in. They froze, caught between the truth on the screen and the chaos that surrounded them. The air crackled with tension as Jennifer shouted, "We have to move." Yet Miranda stepped forward, her expression unreadable, determination replacing surprise. "You have no idea what you've stumbled onto, Jennifer." A sickening wave of possibilities churned in Jennifer's stomach. What horrors lay behind the curtain? Before she could respond, the darkness of the diner slammed against her senses, and she saw the real danger rising. What lay hidden in the decrypted files could change everything if only they could make it out alive. But could they trust anyone, even the familiar faces looming in the shadows? The silence hung heavy for just a moment, a fragile pause before the storm. Jennifer's heart pounded in her ears, drowning out the chaos just outside their tiny corner of the diner. Miranda's cold eyes pierced through her, an unsettling mix of recognition and cunning that sent chills down her spine. "What did you find, Jennifer?" Miranda asked, her voice low, almost taunting. "Have you really peeled back the layers? There's so much more than you can comprehend." Jennifer felt a flash of anger rush through her. This was not the time for mind games. "You didn't come here for a friendly chat, Miranda. We both know that." "True." Miranda's lips curled into a smirk, as if relishing the moment. "But you should know that you're not the only player on the board." From behind her, the imposing figure motioned to his crew. The tension hit like a freight train, solid and heavy, as they began to close in. Darnell shifted closer to Jennifer, his face set with defiance. "Whatever you're up to, this ends now," Darnell spat, his hands tightening into fists. "Let us see how brave you really are," the man with the cold steel eyes grumbled. "You've got until the count of 3 to hand over that laptop, or things get messy." Jennifer's heart raced as she glanced at the screen again. Document after document streamed by, but one caught her attention: a name, a date, a partnership so shocking that it made her breath hitch. It detailed collusion at the highest levels, and suddenly it didn't just involve Miranda, it implicated people she wanted to believe were beyond suspicion. The man's voice sliced through the air. "Darnell, I need another minute," she whispered urgently, dread crawling through her. Without thinking, Jennifer slammed her fingers over the keyboard, recalling every bit of training Miranda had forced onto her. She couldn't let them take it, not now, not ever. Her frantic typing echoed like a heartbeat as she bypassed fail-safes and unlocked documents, each revelation churning her stomach more than the last. The looming figure's patience wore thin. "You should have listened," he sneered, stepping forward menacingly. But before he could take another breath, Darnell launched himself at the nearest henchman. Chaos erupted. Tables crashed, screams punctured the air, and the diner transformed into a battleground. The smell of grease mixed with sweat, and the metallic tang of fear filled Jennifer's mouth. "Now!" Darnell shouted, his voice breaking through the cacophony. "We have to get out." With adrenaline surging, Jennifer made a split-second decision. She yanked the laptop from the table, clamped it to her chest like a shield, and sprinted toward the back exit. Darnell was right behind her, ushering her forward, but Miranda's laughter, cold and calculated, sliced through the chaos. "You really think you can escape with that? We will find you. You can't hide from the truth." Jennifer's breath hitched, fear clawing at her throat. The exit loomed ahead, but the weight of Miranda's words wrapped around her like a vice. Would they be able to expose the truth? Would it all even matter if they didn't survive this? As they burst out into the alley, the dim streetlights flickered, shadows dancing along the walls. The city felt alive, pulsing with danger. Turning to Darnell, she saw the frantic urgency in his eyes and knew this was only the beginning. A screeching sound echoed in the distance, reverberating through the darkness as they hurried into the alley, a reminder that pursuit was close behind. They had to get somewhere safe, but where could they go? And just how far up the chain of power did the corruption run? Beneath her fingertips, the laptop felt like a ticking bomb ready to expose everything or destroy them. As the urgency of their escape grew, one question loomed larger than the rest: was uncovering the truth worth the risk of their lives? The alley greets them with shadows so thick it feels like they're walking into a fog. Jennifer's heart still races in her chest as she clutches the laptop close. They need a plan, and fast. "Darnell, we can't split up," she breathes as they dart toward the nearest turn. "They'll be searching for us wherever we hide." Darnell nods, grim determination flooding his features. We go to my sister's place. She's out of town for the week. It'll be safe there. They race towards his SUV parked at the edge of the lot, every hurried step like marching toward an uncertain fate. The engine rumbles to life under Darnell's trembling hands, it sounds louder than the thundering heartbeats in their ears. Go. She urges, sensing the threat closing in. As they peel away from the diner and into the night, she stares at the sky through the windshield. Dark clouds swirl above, almost mocking her turmoil. Did they just barely escape, or was this just the calm before a worse storm? What's in those files? Darnell asks, casting an anxious glance at her. You hesitated when you saw that document. Her fingers tighten around the laptop, memories of the data swirling in her mind, a name, a date, betrayals hidden beneath corporate facades. It's bigger than I thought, she admits, voice quivering. We're not just dealing with Miranda, there's collusion that stretches deep within Allied Tech. A low growl of anger rises within her. They can't silence me. We can expose them. All of them. Exposing them could put a target on your back even more than you already have, Darnell warns, eyes narrowing. You think they'll let us walk away after this? I don't care, she snaps, I owe it to everyone who has suffered. I owe it to myself, this is justice. The determination surging inside her brushes away the doubts. Minutes later, they screech to a halt outside Darnell's sister's apartment. The door swings open, and the familiar smell of cinnamon and lingering warmth envelopes them. But there's no time to breathe easy. They rush inside, fiercely shutting the door behind them. Okay, he gasps, gripping the counter for balance. He sets the keys down with a heavy thud. We need to check that laptop, see exactly what we're up against. Jennifer nods, pulling the device onto the table. Fingers trembling, she powers it on. The screen flickers to life, and her heartbeat sinks with the loading bar. If we can expose what's going on, it shouldn't matter if they come looking for us, she murmurs, her voice barely above a whisper. They sift through layers of folders and files, but their urgency weighs heavier than the documents themselves. Then, there it is, a folder marked with familiar names. Look! She shouts, the adrenaline coursing through her when she clicks on it. A full document reveals the illicit deals, the back-scratching that took place among the executives. And they're the name of a high-level politician linked to the corrupt underbelly of Allied Tech. Darnell's eyes widen as he reads over her shoulder. This is explosive, he whispers, the reality of it hitting him like a freight train. We can't just drop this without doing something first. Footsteps echo outside the apartment. Their eyes meet, a moment stilled by fear. They found us, Jennifer gasps. What do we do? Hide the laptop. Darnell urges, shoving it into a tin box nearby. Together, they scramble to quiet themselves, a grip of silence taking over. The footsteps grow louder, a chorus of footsteps like a tidal wave crashing down on them. Get ready, Darnell murmurs, his voice cautious. If they come in, we need to act fast. The door rattles, hinges creaking dangerously as the doorknob clicks. Dread grips Jennifer's heart, but she's ready. Whatever happens next, she would fight for the truth. They would blaze a trail out of this darkness. With a sudden crash, the door bursts open. The two men from the diner storm in, eyes wild with determination. Where are they? The lead man's voice is a thunderous growl, sending a sharp chill racing through her spine. Get out! Darnell shouts, lunging forward, fists raised. Jennifer springs into action. She won't let them take her chance for truth without a fight. Come on, Jennifer. Darnell calls as they engage in a desperate scramble. She pushes past the chaos, adrenaline blending with sheer resolve. She needs the laptop, needs to ensure it stays safe. Her fight isn't over yet. That moment, the world outside blurs into insignificance. It is just him, just her, and the impending storm of life or death. With one final push, she grasps the tin box holding the laptop, protecting it like a flickering flame in a mighty gale. They dive toward the fire escape at the back, heartbeats pounding out a rhythm of hope and urgency as they make their way toward the safety of the night, fueled by the promise of their truth turning the tide. The battle wasn't over, but this was a chance to embrace the dawn, and even against uncertainty, she would claim her voice. The truth would be their shield. And nothing could dim its light. Believe in what they can bring to light, and stand by as the truth emerges from the shadows. Want more thrilling tales of courage, betrayal, and hope? You need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss the next chapter in this story. Smash that like button now so we can keep sharing these heart-pounding experiences. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what happens next. Don't wait even one more second to share this adventure with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support fuels this journey.